Los Angeles, a bustling metropolis city resting between the Pacific Ocean and the rugged San Gabriel Mountains. It's the 1950s, and with the Cold War in full swing and the looming threat of nuclear war on the horizon, concerns were raised about the lack of escape routes from the Los Angeles basin. As a result, potential escape corridors were evaluated. One that was approved was the infamous Shoemaker Canyon Road. This road would wind through the San Gabriel Mountains, starting at the East Fork of the San Gabriel River, and connect to the Angeles Crest Highway at Vincent Gap near the small mountain community of Wrightwood, which is 14 miles away from Interstate 15 and the Mojave Desert. The idea of a road through this rocky terrain was not original. In fact, it had been attempted just 20 years prior. In the 1930s, city planners wanted to make the community of Wrightwood more accessible to the people of Los Angeles, promising camping, hiking, fishing, and skiing to those who were seeking a rustic getaway. Today, much of the same is true. Driving down the East Fork of the San Gabriel River, you may encounter people fishing, hikers hiking, or couples sitting in their cars enjoying the lush canyon scenery, but there's still no direct road to Wrightwood through the East Fork, and this is for good reason. It's too difficult. The East Fork contains some of the most unforgiving terrain in Southern California. Rattlesnake Peak and Iron Mountain rank among some of the most difficult hikes in the San Gabriel Mountains. Even the powerful river itself is subject to vicious flooding during rainstorms. Predictably, the initial attempt to build a road through this area came to a tragic end during the storm of the century in March of 1938. The San Gabriel River ripped the roadway to pieces and the project was abandoned shortly after. Today, all that remains of this first attempt are some concrete pillars and, almost 5 miles away from the nearest road, a beautiful 1930s-era arch bridge spanning the Narrows, the deepest gorge in Southern California. I plan to make a video about this project one day, but for now, let's get back to the tunnels. With fear growing about the threat of nuclear war and city planners choosing to ignore the rugged terrain and unsuccessful previous attempts, it was decided to proceed with construction of this new road through the East Canyon. In an attempt to avoid the risk of another flood, the new road was intended to be constructed high above the river on the west wall of the canyon. The road would start near the mouth of the canyon at an elevation of 1,700 feet and join the Angeles Crest Highway at an elevation of 6,629 feet. In 1954, the Los Angeles County Road Department finally began work on the new road. In an attempt to save money and in hope to complete the road quickly, the city contracted the California Men's Institution in Chino for laborers. Due to this use of prison labor, the highway earned a notorious nickname, Convict Road. The prisoners at Detention Camp 14 worked tirelessly in the hot, rocky, dangerous, and exposed cliffside, trying to beat the Russians from an expected nuclear attack. Work was slow going. The terrain was so bad that from 1954 to 1969, the inmates only managed to complete 4.5 miles of work. With the lack of progress, budget constraints, and growing ecological concerns, conservationists urged officials to reconsider their original plan to blast their way through the virtually untouched East Fork Canyon. With the threat of the Cold War diminishing, city officials could not justify the costs and value of this new road anymore. After 15 years of treacherous work, the project was halted, ending at a dismal elevation of 2,700 feet. Today, all that remains is 4.5 miles of mostly unfinished road, 2 tunnels, and some rusty equipment. 1.9 miles of road are paved, ending at an overlook where the road turns to dirt. A gate prevents cars from driving past this point and is where most hikers begin their day. The hike itself is almost entirely uphill but is not too steep. It is very exposed and could be extremely hot during the summer months. I suggest starting this hike late in the day as the steep west wall provides some nice shade. The road is wide and has plenty of space for dogs, bikes, and small groups of people to pass each other with ease. In spring, you may come across seasonal creeks, wildlife, and many different types of blooming flowers and plants. It's easy to see why construction was so slow on this road. Much of the trail is dug directly into the hard granite, and many sections required hundreds of feet of rock to be blasted and hauled away. The cliffside is very steep, and one wrong step would certainly send workers tumbling to their death. There are mile markers throughout the hike which seem to indicate creeks, ravines, and other points of concern roadmakers need to watch out for. After walking through a very tall section of blasted rock, we get our first look at the tunnels. Just a little farther up the trail, you will come to the mouth of the first tunnel. This tunnel is dated 1961 and appears to be in relatively great shape for its age, save for some graffiti and small cracks. The walls are finished with corrugated sheet metal and smooth concrete. The total length is around 1,000 feet and is completely straight. The second tunnel, dated 1964, appears to have been abandoned before it could be completely finished. The bottom of the walls are just granite boulders held in place by rusting rebar, and the ceiling has not been fully finished either. Though hard to catch on camera, you can still see the timbers used to support the rock above the corrugated sheet metal, and in some places, stalactites forming from years of water seeping through the rocks. This tunnel is shorter than the first one, coming in just shy of 660 feet. Both appear wide enough for 2 generous highway lanes and tall enough for even the highest of vehicles. Little to no effort was put into pushing beyond the end of the second tunnel. The trail, not so much a road after the second tunnel, veers to the left, turning into a small overgrown path. At the end of the path appears to be a rusty water tank, probably used to store water for mixing the concrete intended to be used in the tunnels. The trail leaves you with grand vistas of the East Fork below, and supposedly another route to the Bridge to Nowhere, but as far as I could tell is too overgrown and steep to attempt finding it. Looking at old topographical maps of the highway during construction, it appears there were intended to be 2 to 3 bridges spanning some of the large ravines, including the large Shoemaker Canyon, giving the road its present-day trail name. When I was researching this project, I found reference to a secret tunnel between the 2 main tunnels. From the descriptions, it seemed like the tunnel would lead somewhere interesting, or was perhaps a maintenance tunnel that was not sealed off, but when I managed to find it, I quickly realized it was nothing more than a drain for the Shoemaker Canyon Creek. Due to our exceptionally wet season this year, the creek was flowing rather well, so I couldn't explore the tunnel without soaking my feet, but the entrance is pretty cool, and I might come back here and check it out another time. Shoemaker Canyon Road, the Road to Nowhere, Convict Road, whatever you want to call it, stands as a monument to Cold War paranoia and bad planning. In 1984, with the creation of the Sheep Mountain Wilderness area, any plan to irreparably scar Southern California's deepest gorge were finally put to rest, once and for all. Almost 100 years after the first attempt to carve through the East Fork Canyon, there's still no eastern access to the back ranges of the San Gabriels. Shoemaker Canyon Road now remains a little more than an odd historical footnote in the San Gabriel mountain range. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I haven't done anything like this before and would love your feedback and maybe even suggestions for other odd places in the San Bernardino and Los Angeles National Forests. Thanks for watching and have a great day.